I said, let's go ahead and get started. We'll start by taking a roll call to establish a quorum. Tricia Wynn, present. David Lawler,
David present.
Allison Cormack.
Cormac present.
Great. And we have EO Melby with us, Lori Melby.
Thank you. I am
And
present
we have
as
our
well.
legal counsel, Reza Pejuhash.
Present as well. This is Reza.
Present. And Shannon Johnson should be with us.
Board moderator, can you ensure that Shannon is elevated? And then we'll just do kind of some quick housekeeping really quick. If you can, on the panelist section, if you can remove Dolores, Jovita, Marianne McCarthy, and drop them down to attendees. They're welcome to still be here, but that helps to alleviate any risk of them coming off mute or off on camera. Thank you, appreciate that.
Great.
We'll also need, I believe Nicole Bowles would need elevated as well. Thank you.
Okay. Think we're ready to go ahead and get started. The first item of business is public comment, I believe. Is that right?
All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. This is the BRN moderator. I will be moderating the meeting. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature. When the committee reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, the question and answer feature will be turned on and members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by inserting the phrase, "I would like to make a comment," in the question box, which is typically in the lower right of your screen. We will also have our Sacramento public location, in-person location queried to see if there are any comments from there. I will then call on the individual and unmute their microphone. The individual will have 2 minutes to make their comments. I will not give a warning as your time approaches. I will mute your microphone and will announce that your time has exceeded the time allotted. I will then proceed to the next member of the public who has a comment. Please note that the question and answer feature is being used only as a means for members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. When your turn comes, you will be prompted to unmute. If your question can be answered, the committee will respond accordingly. When making your comments, speak about anything you believe is important for the members to know. Remember, committee members cannot address any item not on the agenda. Items not on the agenda at that moment, items that you would like to add to a future meeting, or items that will be discussed later on the agenda will be discussed at their correct times during the meeting. I will provide a brief reminder of this approach at the start of each public comment item. Finally, when committee members or BRN staff are not speaking, I would like to remind them to mute their microphone. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will mute your microphone automatically. Thank you. We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I have activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired and will move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Paradise would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
The probation, the post-probation posting of it on Breeze and Nurses. The current rule since 2020 is that anyone with a dismissed charge or expunged conviction and/or a misdemeanor conviction older than 7 years at the time of the submitted application will not have any action taken against them. However, those of us who met this criteria before then are still dealing with the quote-unquote indefinite online Breeze and Nurses public record of our dismissed charges, expunged convictions. In my case, these charges, convictions are 20 years old when I was a literal teenager, long before I dreamed of being a nurse. As a result, for years I have been and continue to be denied higher education and job opportunities in a safe working environment, despite having graduated nursing school summa cum laude and having a spotless nursing record for almost 10 years. I would like to put this on the next agenda to see if we can apply the current standard to old cases. Thank you.
Thank you very
Briefly,
much.
this is Reza. Just quickly, if I could just shed some light on that. Again, I mentioned earlier, we heard that comment in an earlier committee meeting, and I appreciate the commenter for sticking around this long to make that comment at this time. Again, it's I can't go into specifics, and I don't know specifics of this individual, but I can only assume that she's referring to AB 2138, a bill from a few years back. I want to say 2018, but don't quote me on that. It could have been more recent, but it was a bill that applied to applicants and not current licensees in the restriction that the board couldn't consider convictions more than 7 years old or dismissed, expunged, etc. convictions. Under that legislation, the board couldn't consider convictions more than 7 years or certain convictions as it related to applicants for licensure, but it didn't require the boards to take down or walk back discipline that had occurred prior to then on the basis of something that might have gotten swept up in that. I don't want to spend too much time talking on that, but I wanted to at least shed that little piece of information, which I had kind of thought about since the first comment. And to the commenter, again, that's something that you can reach out to board staff directly as well. Thanks.
But thank you very much for that, Reza. But would this be an appropriate item to agendize for a future board meeting?
I think there could be a discussion to be had generally about the topic of how the board handles posting of discipline documents on the website. Some of that's pretty straightforward and kind of the rules are pretty straightforward on it. So there are some areas where it might be some kind of just different ways the board could handle it, or gray area what's required in some of these situations, like dismissed accusations situation than what was just brought up. But I think currently we have started taking dismissed accusations down.
Lori, I'm just wondering if maybe we could agendize just an information item, and maybe not next month, maybe that's not enough time, but at some point, we could just have a conversation about that. It does seem to come up, not just in public comment, but even in some of the cases that, we're reviewing. It might be nice to just hear a discussion of that.
Yeah, we can add that to a future board agenda. I think it would be a benefit, at least if it at least just educational. We
Yeah.
do receive a lot of reach outs on this item, not just for people that have this as part of their application, but also people that have had new accusations and such come in. And then the reporting factor where it goes to nurses and the National Practitioner Data Bank as well. So we can definitely add that to a future agenda item. I will look at the agenda to see if it's something that we could add to February without kind of overloading the day. And if it's possible, we'll get it in. If not, we will do the very following board meeting.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
For February, but if not, we'll do May.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your comment. Before I move on to the next person, I have two Nurse 117s. So Nurse 117, please identify if you are on your cell phone or on your computer. That way I can unmute the correct one. Nurse would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Nurse, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. Since entering the BRN's intervention program, I've experienced profound instability in every aspect of my life. After a DUI in 2022, I took accountability and committed to recovery, maintaining sobriety for a year before enrolling. This was recommended by a BRN representative who said I didn't pose a danger to the public. Yet upon enrolling, I was removed from work for a year because the BRN decided I was suddenly a danger. My sobriety date was dismissed because it was not monitored, and I was forced to complete costly outpatient rehab as if I were in active addiction, despite my clear commitment to recovery. Now that I've been granted work privileges, my restrictions on my license have made employment impossible, leaving me dependent on my husband's income alone. I was forced to resign from the best job I've ever had because my employer couldn't accommodate the board's restrictions, like not working alone, handling mind-altering medications, or working more than 32 hours a week. These burdensome rules have made me unemployable despite over 10 years of positive feedback, no history of diversion, and no unsafe behavior in the workplace. I've submitted over 70 negative drug tests costing more than $7,000 and have been fully compliant, yet the board focuses on arbitrary timelines over actual progress. Testing fees alone are a huge financial burden, sometimes exceeding $1,000 a month. The punishment does not fit the crime. Nurses are treated as disposable, with little regard for our careers or livelihoods. I've lost my job, colleagues, and community, had to relocate for affordable housing. There's no clear end, just endless barriers. It's time to fix this broken system. Recovery programs should empower nurses to rebuild, not punish them indefinitely. I would like to see changes in the work restrictions posed on nurses entering this program. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Nurse 117 would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
BRN meeting regarding my denied request to return to work per the decision of my last IEC committee. I emailed Loretta asking to review my case and their decision. I am now at 18 months without working as a nurse. When I last spoke to a Maximus case manager in December, they informed me that they were going to try to get me into an IEC meeting in February, but I never received confirmation. I have not yet heard from my new Premier Health case manager, and as February is quickly approaching, it's very unclear if I'm getting into an IEC meeting next month or not. I've reached out to my new case manager via email, and I'm awaiting a response. I understand that Premier Health is still getting their bearings, but it's extremely stressful and frustrating to be left in the dark when your career and livelihood is on the line. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you for your comment. I have a request from Anonymous, and I have 3 Anonymouses here. So I have Anonymous that is not able to speak, an Anonymous on a cell phone, and an Anonymous on a computer. Can you please identify yourself so I know which one to unmute?
The one on the computer, Mark, they just responded.
Oh, did they? Oh, sorry.
Yep.
There it is.
Heartfelt plea for consideration of completion of the recovery program under your jurisdiction. My wife and I recently welcomed our firstborn son, who was born preterm and requires significant care and attention. I'm currently on paternity leave with my wife and son at our home in Nevada. However, if I'm unable to complete the California recovery program, I have to return to California in February once my paternity leave expires to finish out 3 more months in the program, leaving my wife alone to care for our fragile newborn. This separation would place an undue burden on my family during an already difficult and emotionally taxing time. I deeply respect the mission of the recovery program and the safeguards it provides for public safety. I've demonstrated my commitment to recovery and accountability by maintaining over 5 years of continuous sobriety and negative drug testing across both the Nevada and California Board of Nursing recovery programs. This meets the requirement outlined in the Uniform Standards for completion. Uniform Standard 12 simply states 3 to 5 years of continuous sobriety, which I have demonstrated. For 2.5 years prior to entering California's program, I successfully participated in the Nevada Board of Nursing Recovery program, fully complying with all the requirements, including maintaining consistent negative drug tests. Since transitioning to California, I have continued to demonstrate my compliance and sobriety with over another 2.5 years of documented negative tests and participation in the recovery program. During the June 2024 board meeting, it was noted by BRN leadership that there was no formal policy or philosophy regarding the acceptance of out-of-state diversion programs, and decisions are left to the discretion of individual IECs. However, in my December IEC, the IEC members deferred to February IEC as they had no idea if early completion under these circumstances were allowed. They're going to reach out to BRN leadership for further guidance. I have heard nothing since this date, and all my emails to the board have gone unanswered. I humbly ask for consideration of my specific case, recognizing the time I have spent in recovery, my compliance with program standards, and the circumstances I now face as a father of a preterm infant. To date, I have emailed the board leadership on a few occasions with no response. I pray the board can please consider allowing me completion. I think the board would agree it's not in anyone's best interest to strip a premature newborn from their father and require him to go back to California for 3 months to complete the program when I have over 5 years of documented negative drug screens between the two boards of nursing. Thank you for taking the time to consider my request. I hope the board will recognize my dedication to recovery and the compelling circumstances surrounding my plea, and please respond to me and let me know if asking for completion is a reasonable request at this stage of my recovery. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
So to
Committee
jump in
Chair
really
Wynn.
quick,
Sorry, go ahead.
before you close public comment, I just want to jump in really quick. We do receive several inquiries per day coming in from participants who want a reconsideration of such. And because the program manager, myself, we are not able to make those decisions, they do have to get put forward to the IEC. So there may not be an immediate response given at that particular point, but we will acknowledge receipt and forward it on to the appropriate people to get those put on a IEC meeting as soon as possible.
Committee Chair Wynn, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in person in our Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window?
Please, thanks very much, Board Moderator. So we'll move on to item number 3.0, which is review and vote on whether to approve the minutes from the October 17th, 2024 committee meeting. I hope members have had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any comments on the minutes at this time?
No,
Hearing-
this is Board Member Cormack. Would you
Thank
like me
you.
to make a motion to approve?
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
All right, so moved.
Second,
Okay, so the motion is to accept the EIIC meeting minutes from October 17th, 2024, and allow the BRN staff to make non-substantive changes to correct name misspellings and/or typos that might have been discovered in the document. So at this point, would the board moderator take open public comment? Thank you.
We'll be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Wynn, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our in-person location in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thanks very much, Board Moderator. So we have a motion by Committee Member Cormack and a second by Committee Member Lawler. Let's go ahead and take roll. Wynn, aye. Lawler,
aye.
Cormack,
Cormack, yes.
that motion carries. So item number 4.0 is information only, and it's a report from the Enforcement Division. Updates. I'm not sure who
me.
is.
It's me,
Thank you.
Tricia. It's okay.
Shannon is on. Yes.
Hi, Shannon Johnson. I'm the board's
Great.
Enforcement Division Chief.
Thanks,
And before I start with 4.0, I just want to state that this packet is a little different than it's been in the past. What we did is we decided to separate out enforcement, investigations, and intervention. So now they're all separate. So hopefully maybe you could just, it allows everyone to focus in on each section individually instead of it being one large document, because it was getting larger and larger as we went on. But this is 4.0. This is information only for the enforcement division. So as you know, back at the August 22nd board meeting, the board voted to join National Council's 5-year pilot study to test substance abuse disorders monitoring programs. So the study is going to track participant outcomes from entry into the program through their completion up to 2 years immediately following their successful completions through 2027. So we will be reporting data to you as that comes to us. We also continue to recruit the expert practice consultants. All of that information is on our website, on the rn.ca.gov website. If you are interested in becoming an expert practice consultant, we are in need of all of them, all areas, especially long-term care, the SNFs, the skilled nursing facilities, geriatric, the acute rehabilitation, school nurses, med-surg, pediatric ICU, dialysis. So all of those areas are a little bit more need than the others, but we do need all areas. In complaint intake, we're continuing to, as previously discussed, we now have the complaint prioritization and referral guidelines known as CPRG. Before we had CPEI, the complaint prioritization enforcement initiative. So now we have the CPRG, so we're triaging cases now in complaint intake before they go to Division of Investigation or the BRN Investigations Unit. We also continue to triage cases to obtain preliminary documents to assist both DFI and the BRN investigations. The discipline unit, as of December 17th, only 13% of our cases have been pending at the Office of Attorney General for over a year. And for probation, the probation unit is currently working on enhancements to the website. So for our BRN website, we're working on a video, we're working on some FAQs for the probation area, and we hope to be updating that on the probation section of our website shortly. Currently, our probation monitors are carrying an average of approximately 51 cases per monitor, which is good, by the way. It's a good number. We were much higher years ago, and so it's more of a manageable caseload now. We did also take some suggestion from the last meeting. We separated out all of the tables now for each of the sections, so you can kind of hone in more. The first table on table A is going to be fiscal year, but what we did, since we're only halfway through this fiscal year, is we did a fiscal year comparison of each first quarter one, quarter two of every fiscal year going back to 2020. So that's what you're seeing in table A. This is the complaint intake section in table A. Your citations is going to be table B. Discipline is your table C. Legal support is table D. Probation is table E. I know we got a lot of units, sorry. And then table F is your total case processing time. So this is basically the average days to complete, where we're at. How much of that is 540 days or less, or higher than 540 days? Because as you know, DCA's goal for discipline cases to be processed is within 540 days. We have table G, which is our performance measures. That's what we can, and you can also obtain them from DCA's website under their data tab. They do give all of the enforcement data for all boards, not just BRN. And so this is going back all the way to 2020, all fiscal years. And this is the case performance measures. Are there any questions on any part of that?
I have two questions, Shannon. The first is on table F, it looks like the numbers for 2020, July of 2020 through December of 2020 are the same as July of 2024 through December of 2024.
Yeah, quite possibly. I can relook at that, but we did have days that were similar. I mean, fiscal years that were similar.
So is there anything, you'd hope to see improvements, and I know not everything is within our control, but is that something that worries you, or is that something, do you see any way that we can improve upon that?
Yeah, I mean, we look at on a daily basis what we can do to eliminate, because even one day out of a unit adds up over time.
Yeah.
So we're constantly looking, not to compare to previous years ago, but back, 2017, 2018, we were at 1,200 days.
Okay.
So we have really, really cut back on our processing time. So I'm really proud of those numbers.
Okay.
The other thing to take into consideration is that includes the entire processing time. So if a case, has to go to investigations, if it has to go to a hearing, the AG time,
Uh-huh.
you're looking at, so for AG time, you're looking at 300 days on average.
Okay.
To get a hearing, it's usually 6 months out on
Okay.
average. So those timeframes are not, that they're out of our control. And so if you have a case that has to go through those processes, you're never going to meet 540 days. If for each part of that investigation, you're at 300 days, and the AG time, you're at 300 days, you're already at 600 days.
Okay.
And that's outside of our processing times in-house and, the time to process the legal documents and all of that. So I know that there's been discussion, is 540 days really doable? Are
Okay.
any boards meeting 540 days? And if there are, maybe one or two.
Okay.
I don't think any boards are. So I am personally proud of those numbers. We worked very hard to get there. And again, constantly looking for ways we can improve though.
Thank you very much for that. That's helpful information. The second question I have is really kind of more, just what are your feelings about it? And that is, are there any numbers on any of those tables that keep you awake at night, that you worry about, that you think, gosh, we really have to change that? Or is that just kind of the cost of doing business?
I think that if you look at our mapping, because, we did work with OIO to do all the mapping, which I've been reporting over a long period of time. If you look at our internal processes, they're within days, not months, they're within days. So it's only taking like a day to get from one unit to another, or, and I get, we call them the flow sheets, and we get them, it's 18 months worth of data. And I look at every milestone of the case, and I get those on a quarterly basis. So I look at every milestone of a case, where did we have some high peaks? Where did we have more time? What caused that? But it's usually outlier cases that maybe, we had more time. There's nothing that really keeps me awake. I mean, of course, I'm that type of person. I always see, I know that there's improvement. There's always going to be improvement. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. And I'm always going to think that we can do better. So nothing necessarily keeps me awake, but I know that there's room for improvement.
Thanks very much. Committee Member Cormack, I did see your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair Wynn. Hello, Ms. Johnson. Of course, I'm super excited to see all these numbers, and I'm sure it took time to put them together, but this is really helpful information. I want to start with our, we talk about it every time, the video for probation, and every time it's soon. Is it coming before the next board meeting? This committee meeting?
It may not. We just got done. I'll just give you an update. I just kind of did an overall, but we just got done doing the slides and the voice over doc, or the language to each of the slides. So we're right now finalizing those. As soon as we get those finalized, we're going to send them over to the unit in DCA that actually is going to assist us in creating that. Once we get the final to them, I don't think that their timeline was very long. It just depends on when they have, because they have all the boards that they're dealing with. So they have to schedule us out. And I don't have a date from them yet, but if I have a date, I will share that at the next board meeting, but I don't think it's actually going to be posted by the next board meeting.
Okay, but it sounds like the BRN has prepared the
Yes.
content, and
Yes.
it's fantastic. Great. I noticed on table A, complaint intake, that both public complaints and convictions and arrests are up significantly in the past 4 years and on kind of a, a steady trajectory. You know, is this something that's going on in, like the universe, California, nursing? Is this, help us understand. You could interpret these numbers a couple different ways.
Yeah,
So I know that last time somebody mentioned that, I don't know if the complaints separate out. Like if you get 10 complaints about one person, is that counted in the 2514 or is the 25? I see. Okay. And I know, okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So any thoughts on that? Because I can imagine as a member of the public myself looking at this, you're like, oh, this doesn't seem great that we've got a lot more complaints and frankly, more convictions and arrests.
Okay,
Like
so let me just start by saying that in 2020 is when COVID hit. We started dropping in complaints as of 2020. So prior to this 2020 year, they were actually higher. So with that being said, as we kind of got through COVID, you notice they start increasing. However, in 2024, the end of 2024, we actually got some media attention with filing a complaint where we received almost 1,000, I want to say maybe let's say roughly 800 complaints, where it was inviting individuals to file a complaint with us on someone. So that number is incorporated in this number because we count every complaint. So really, if you're looking at the number of complaints that we received on the public side, they're significantly lower, I mean, in reality, than what is on this piece of paper. So I just want to point that out too.
And then
Super
some
helpful.
additional clarification on that. Shannon said media complaints, and I wanted to be very clear that it was social media complaint. It was a social media request that was put up to have people reach out and make complaints to our board about one of our licensees because that was kind of the process that was followed. So it was not like a NBC or ABC, like a media source. It was a social media movement that requested that to happen. And then just on the convictions, arrest increasing, the ones that I'm seeing come through that I would really like to kind of make a statement about is to let people know that we're not seeing a lot of these convictions, arrest around specific nursing practice. It's not like we're having criminal offenses happening at a hospital or at an employment area. What these conviction and arrest seem to be trending are outside of the nurse's employment and matters within their personal life.
And that's very helpful. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the public does as well. Okay, so then I'm looking at table C, discipline. And I really appreciate, now this is something for us, pending board vote is 52 days, right? That's almost 2 months. So have we thought about trying to shorten that? I'm just looking at the last line on table C.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we get two sets of things to vote on. One is due in the next week and one has a much longer lead time. I realize that collectively we'd all have to do a little extra work, but if we extra work for a month, the board members, could we catch up and shorten some of that? Or is there some other process that I'm not familiar with?
So actually, I would just want to clarify, the 52 is a total cases, not time frame. So those are cases pending board vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Okay.
We should have clarified. So we'll make sure,
No, you said
we can clarify that.
Okay. Regardless, I guess my question still stands. We do have some that are, is there a reason that some of the discipline cases we get are the due date for the vote is so far out?
I'm not sure. we can look into the decisions and appeals unit and find out if there's any way that we could streamline that a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a good job. It's just that we have, well, from what I can see. Yeah. So I think if, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to take a month and get ahead, but I'm sure there may be reasons it is the way it is, but that's just one thing I would note.
Okay.
And we talked about case processing time and performance measures, and so I think this is really helpful information, just the right amount and level for us to have a better handle on how this part of the process works. So thank you very much to the staff that's prepared it.
Thank you. Trish, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Any other committee questions or comments? Okay, this is information only. I'm sorry. This is information only. Do we need to go out to public comment?
We did.
Would the board moderator please take us to public comment? Thank you.
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for a comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Nguyen, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in person in our Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window?
Please, and thank you very much, board moderator. Thank you, Shannon, for that. So we'll move to item 5.0. Again, information only, investigations division updates. And Shannon, are you going to be presenting on that also?
No, that's going to be Nicole.
Great. Okay, thanks, Nicole.
Go.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nicole Bowles. I am the Deputy Chief of Investigations here at the board, and I will be presenting on the Investigations Division update. Investigations continues to work with the Office of Organizational Improvement to map out our workflow, timeframes, and processes to streamline and improve. The OIO team is working with subject matter experts from the Investigations Division to map out our processes, and we will continue to report on the progress of this project in future meetings. On November 19th, 2024, the BRN and the Office of the Attorney General conducted the fourth of a four-part training series with the Deputy Attorney General. The topics included the administrative process, the general nursing practice, unprofessional conduct, report writing, advanced practice nursing, records, evidence, and medical spa/nursing corporations. We anticipate that we will continue to work with the DAGs to present the series again this year, and I'm hoping to reach out to them shortly to get those dates on the calendar. Investigations continues to adhere to recommendation number 7 of the 2016 California State Audit. As of January 3rd, 2025, the full-time special investigators have an average of 28 active cases. And due to the high caseloads, the supervising special investigator ones and I continue to actively work cases by conducting some preliminary work to assist these special investigators. Investigations received 80 cases in December of 2024, which is a decrease from the 104 cases received in November, which I'm very excited and happy about. And we are continuing to explore multiple options to address the high caseload. We are also actively recruiting for one full-time special investigator position in the Central Region and one limited term, and limited term investigator statewide. Are there any questions?
Quick question for you, Nicole. Thank you for that. So you said that there's an average of 28 active cases per special investigator. What would be the ideal number of active cases?
Well, our maximum is 30 cases per special investigator, and that average was determined by a survey of the Healing Arts boards. So we can handle a maximum of 30 cases.
And you're bumping up against that maximum.
We are,
Yes,
and I can
we are.
provide additional information on that. So the California State Auditors came through in 2016, and when they issued a report, a number was entered into that report that 20 cases were the maximum for our special investigators. There was a whistleblower report that came through saying that we had manipulated those numbers. At that point, we went back out, we met with DCA, and we had them collaborate with the other Healing Art boards to say what could be a more reasonable number other than 20. And so the decision was 30. That is what we turned into the California State Auditors, saying that we would not exceed 30. That is not a hard block, right? If we did determine at some point that maybe we could hold more, we would go back out to DCA boards. We would be able to say, is there a higher caseload that we could support? And then we would just update that number. In this time frame right now, we are bumping up against that 30 caseload, and there are cases still pending assignment. And so we had a discussion around that in our last board meeting where we brought attention to this to have more robust discussion on this. When we reached back out to DCA and even spoke with the Division of Investigations, it was determined that 30 is still something that everybody's in alignment and that we would not increase past that. When you meet with the special investigators, they're more comfortable at 20. So having up to 30 is really kind of pushing them and not what they are really comfortable with. What ends up becoming incredibly difficult to manage is an influx of cases. What do we do when that happens, especially if they're high priority cases and our caseloads are pretty much maximized? And so at that point, Nicole, not being a special investigator, but overseeing them, is continuing to take cases. Our assistant executive officer, Yvonne, is assisting with cases. We have developed a enhanced triage process on how to get cases in, how to get documents in and received sooner. And so this is bumping up against 28 is an issue. And we are hopeful that as we see the numbers decrease from 104 down to 80, that we'll start to see that kind of stabilize. There was some when we worked together as a team here, Nicole and Shannon and Yvonne kind of got together and tried to look at trends and see what could have caused an influx. They're thinking that it may have just been a blip, and that should start to calm down as well. But one of the things that I need our board committee members to know as well is it's not a simple fix where we can just go out and hire new investigators and bring them in. There's the whole budget consideration with that. And although we are a special funded board, we are not part of the general fund. We don't get position authority without asking for a budget change proposal. We have to go through that budget change proposal. We have to request, we have to justify, and we have to hope that it gets approved. It's outside of us. In the past, we did ask for positions to our special investigators, probably about 4 years ago now. And it was denied. It didn't make it out of DCA. And because we had a lot of vacant positions at that point in other areas. And so right now with the current state of the budget throughout the state, there may not be an opportunity for us to go forward for a BCP for a while. So we are actively monitoring this and seeing what we can do to work with this and get any assistance as we can. And
Thank you very
working
much.
within our budget as well.
Thank you very much, Lori. I appreciate that. Any other questions from committee members on this item?
Chair Wynn, this is Board Member Cormack. I have a question.
Yeah, please. Yes.
Okay, great. I'm on table A, still loving the tables. Thank you. This is, so we have the complaints and then they're assessed or triaged and then some of them move to investigation. Is that the flow?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it looks like we had a pretty big influx in the last 6-month period. And it looks like there's a lot of variation. I mean, so thoughts on that? Is this just part of what, EO Melby was saying? Sometimes you just get a whole bunch. Presumably this can't be the result of the hundreds of complaints that were about one situation, because that would just be one case referred, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
is normal variability. Is that what we should think when we're looking at this?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Could you say that one more time?
Sure. I'm just trying to understand if the increase from 23 to 24, again, I know it's just half a year, from 386 cases referred to 672, is a normal variability, or if, it just seems like a really big number.
So the increase could be due to a number of different factors. In my experience working investigations, it's always an ebb and flow, and you can never gauge when you're going to have a peak or a valley in cases that you receive. But without doing some additional research, I could assume that potentially it was due to the CPRGs changing, that we are receiving some additional case types that would have previously gone to the Division of Investigations that are now coming to BRN investigations.
And Committee Member Cormack, the CPRGs went into effect March of 2024.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
CPRGs is the Complaint Referral Prioritization Guidelines.
Okay. Sounds good. So the public should feel good about that because we're taking a closer look at things now. Is that layman's interpretation?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. And then I see the DOI cases completed have been on a bit of a downward trajectory over the past 4 years. Is that, I understand that's not within our control, but this is information that we share with them as well. So, and I'm sure we continue to discuss the flow.
That's correct. So we continue to partner with the Division of Investigations. We receive reports from them and we meet with them periodically to discuss the cases that are pending over at the division.
Okay. Great. Thank you for your work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Cormack. Committee Member Lawler, any questions or comments on this?
I have no questions. I just want to say with this, as well as the last item, I appreciate how they're broken down and how manageable these, digestible these tables are. So thank you, Shannon, Nicole, and staff for putting this together this way. I do appreciate it. It's good.
Yeah, I do too. Thanks very much. Nicole, if you don't have anything further, we'll go to public comment.
I don't. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Board moderator, would you please take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Wynn, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We do have a public request for comment in person in Sacramento. 1 second, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members, for allowing me to participate. I actually didn't know I'll have this opportunity to discuss this with the department that's actually concerned. My name is Pagamile Tarusinga, or Pix in short, and I have been working as a nurse in one closed facility, a psych unit. And I put in two different complaints, must be 4 years back, if not a little further. I think just 4 years back. And it's only recently that maybe a year ago, or maybe slightly less than a year, that one of the cases got taken care of. But the thing is, there were two cases that I think I brought to the board based on being a patient advocate in a closed facility. Out of those two, I kept saying, which one of the two are you addressing? Because the board did send me a letter to say we're taking care of case number so and so. So I said, there's two cases, which one is this? But there wasn't any specific way I could know basically what they were taking care of. But then after the investigation, the investigators or the board got back to me and said, we didn't find anything wrong, for lack of better terminology. And then I was like, okay, and they said you have 10 days to come and discuss this with us if you want. And I said, I'm prepared to come and discuss it, because basically my thing was I was prepared to come and share the piece of evidence which I thought would lead to where the board would understand where there was a break in the normal, which of course, like I said, I don't know which of the two cases they were dealing with. One had to do with the death of a patient, which I reported, and then the other one had to do with a patient who reported that they had been raped, and then the facility didn't follow the procedure. They discharged the patient immediately. So basically, as nurses, we are advocates for our patients, and we would like to see a situation where possibly when you say you have completed a case and you have seen nothing, we would like a situation where you would give us an opportunity to come and sit on the board and discuss with you the evidence that we think are leading to our decisions. Otherwise, it ends up undermining each nurse's decision as an advocate for the patient. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Wynn, there are no other public requests for comments. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thanks very much, board moderator.
This is Reza. Sorry.
Okay, Reza.
Just briefly wanted to touch on the last comment that was made. And Shannon, hopefully you're listening and will correct me if I'm wrong, but for folks who submit complaints to the board as a investigation is taking place, I think sometimes it is a bit of a surprise that the complainant is not necessarily kept apprised of each step of the investigation and a real active participant. I mean, they are a participant in the sense of they're a witness and providing information, but the investigators, it's pretty standard that the board maintains confidentiality over its investigative processes and investigations themselves. So not a lot of information is really disclosed during the course of an investigation, even to a complainant themselves. Sometimes that kind of goes against expectations, which I can kind of get, but there's a reason for it. So, and then as far as I think I heard the commenter say something about being able to sit with someone at the board and present evidence and talk about it. Hopefully Shannon is, again, going to correct me if I'm wrong, but the investigator assigned to a given case is open to receiving information about the case from any witnesses, and I know that they do conduct interviews and things like that. So I can't speak about the specifics of that case or any case really, but I believe that generally is an opportunity. So hopefully there's no confusion or difficulty in getting information presented to the investigator assigned to a case. That's it. Just wanted to quickly follow up that comment.
Thank you for that clarification, Reza. Okay, that was information only, so there won't be a motion coming out of that. We'll move on to item number 6.0. Again, another information only item, and it's on the intervention program updates. And Shannon, will you be presenting on this?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, Shannon Johnson, I'm the board's enforcement division chief. I will be reviewing item 6.0. It is fairly short. However, there are 3 other agenda items, subcategories of intervention that'll be following. So this one is just kind of updates you on the general information for intervention. So we have still been attending all of the intervention evaluation committees. Especially in this transition period, we want to make sure that we're there to support the IEC members and the participants, identify any possible gaps in the regulation and make sure the process is still moving smoothly. The board at the February 28th, 29th, 2024 board meeting, you guys allowed us and voted on to approve us to begin work on regulation packages. So we have been requesting at every IEC meeting feedback and possible recommendations from all IEC members over this last year, hoping to incorporate those when we are ready to bring that forward to the committee and board to review. As you know, our contract ended with Maximus. It expired December 31st. So we're working very hard with the new vendor, which is Premier Health Group, in trying to get them up and running. And so they are trying to transition 8 total boards under this contract. So registered nursing being one of the 8. So we're assisting in that. We continue to recruit IEC members. You'll be seeing another agenda item 6.2 coming up, where we are going to talk about possible opening of some IECs. So I'll leave that for 6.2. And that is it for my update on intervention. Any questions from the committee?
Thanks very much, Shannon. I don't have any questions for you on this item. Any other committee members have questions for Shannon on this item?
No.
This is board member Cormack. I have one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We heard an earlier public comment, Ms. Johnson, that someone had not heard back yet from their case manager. And, you know, when we went through this last time with Maximus, I sort of pinned down, like, what is the phone number? Is there a phone number someone can call? I presume that Premier Health Group also has a 24/7 phone number that people can call. And I see that Ms. Melby is nodding.
So we have updated our website as well with the number and the email address for Premier. Premier has been contacting each of the participants to introduce themselves, the new case managers, the new compliance monitors. So we're in that process. It's, the first few weeks of this transition. So we're in the process of getting all of that taken care of and trying to get all of that documentation also over for Premier to be able to, put it where it goes with each participant, start reviewing it to understand where the participants are at this time in their program. So yes, everything has been updated with the new contact information.
Great. So to the extent that, a member of the intervention program is not received the information they need, they have another avenue to access that.
Correct. And if they're not getting an answer there, they can always also send us an email under the intervention email address if they wanted to send it there. And then we can maybe look into it for them with Premier Health and our email address. I don't know if it's listed on our website, but it's intervention-brn@dca.ca.gov. Again, if anyone's listening, you want me to repeat that, it's intervention-brn@dca.ca.gov.
Thank you so much. I can imagine it's a very large task, what everyone's working on in this transition, and we just want to be sure people have an avenue, and it sounds like they do. So thanks.
Yes.
Thank you very much. If there are no other comments, I'm going to ask the board moderator to open up public comment on this item.
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Let's try that again. Committee. Oh, sorry. BJH would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. I appreciate the email and the phone numbers, Ms. Johnson, that you provided. I just wanted to give some feedback in case you could also provide that to Premier Health Group. I also have not heard from my case manager. I've received an email that my case manager was so-and-so, and then I received another email that it's been changed to someone else. I have called the phone numbers that have been provided to me, sent emails to the emails that have been provided to me for my case manager. I just wanted to touch base with someone before my IEC, which is tomorrow. And I still have not talked to a case manager or had one call me back after multiple voicemails and emails. So if you could provide feedback to them that I understand they're going through a huge process. I do not envy what they're going through, but maybe try and make a priority for the participants who have upcoming IECs, tomorrow or within the next several weeks, if they could be contacted to be introduced. I guess tomorrow will be the first time I will meet my case manager in my IEC. So that I just wanted to provide that feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
So DJH, if there's a way that you could directly reach out to Shannon Johnson, her email is on our website, and that way we can follow up individually. We will not be asking you to give any information, identifiable information here in the meeting because of the confidentiality of that program. but we would like to follow up to ensure that a case manager reach out to you specifically today before the meeting tomorrow.
I
And
would
so
appreciate that.
we
I will do
just
that.
need you to reach out a contact to give the information that's confidential in that email with
Okay,
her, please.
should I email Shannon Johnson's email or the intervention email that she provided?
Intervention email is perfectly fine, and she'll grab it from there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nurse 117 would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Question regarding the last BRN meeting in November. I remember Loretta said that technically there isn't a law that states that a nurse has to work as an RN to complete the intervention program. And I was wondering if that's still the case, because I know so many of us are waiting to be approved to return to work or having a really hard time getting a job as a nurse with the restriction requirements going forward in our careers. So I was just wondering if that is still a requirement, and will it remain that there is no law that requires us to work as nurses in order to successfully complete the intervention program? Thank you.
Yeah, I can provide really quick update on that. Uniform standard number 12 is what is used to consider completement. And part of uniform standard number 12 says demonstrate that he or she is able to practice safely. The IEC will determine if that is that demonstration that he or she is able to practice safely must be done through work performance as an RN or can be done in any other way. So it is an individual basis, case by case, determined by the IEC, considering all factors in that case. But there's not a specific law that says you must work as an RN. It is a determination on a case by case basis by reviewing what the specifics are of you as a person in order to demonstrate that he or she is able to practice safely so that you could successfully complete the program as required in law, which is uniform standard number 12.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Nguyen, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in person in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thanks very much, Board Moderator. So that again was information only. So we are going to close that item and move on to the next item.
Real quick, before we move on to the next item, I did want to let people know that Premier, when they assumed Maximus, they did take over their phone number. So it is the same phone number that they would use to contact Maximus. It has been forwarded to Premier, and Premier will answer that phone number. They also took over the fax number from Maximus as well, and is receiving communication that way. And as Shannon mentioned, we did update our website with an appropriate email for Premier, which is recoveryprogram@premierhealthgroup.net. And that way everybody can kind of still reach out and get some input back from Premier Health Group. One of the things to share about Premier Health Group is they are a medical provider, which is different for the state to experience with an intervention program. And they are highly skilled in mental health and substance use disorder. And so it has been really nice working with them through this transition. And we do ask for you guys to have continued patience, as it's only been 3 weeks into the new year, and they are doing their best to come up to speed. And we are currently working with them to schedule more training opportunities for their staff so that they can know exact requirements and from the BRN.
Thank you very much, Lori. That's helpful. So we will move to item 6.1, again, information only. And this is a presentation by E.O. Melby regarding cases affected by the motion during the August 2024 board meeting.
Thank you for this. And so we're continuing the process to follow the board's motion that was made in August of 2022 to really work with our IECs to evaluate the recommendations that they're putting forward. As you guys are able to see through by the data that starts on page 21, that there have been 30 reviews sent to the EO, with 7 of them approved and 23 actually referred back to an IEC for reconsideration. Those 23 that are sent back to IEC for re-review, does not mean they're not they're not able to continue with that, is that we don't have evidence to substantiate their request. And so we are asking for them to either reconsider or find evidence to support their decision. And so another area that I think would be really helpful to clear up is that me as the EO, I'm not overturning any decision. I am reviewing the decisions that are put forth in front of me and seeing that there has been evidence that meets the requirement of the board's motion. If I'm not able to see that evidence, I do reach out to the program manager and ask if I'm missing evidence, if they can submit some more information, et cetera. And there have been times where they have extended past 3 years. There's been times when they have required work, and that there have been requirements around work for direct patient care and access to narcotics, et cetera, that on review, 7 of those have gone through as approved because the evidence was provided. But to show that we are continuing to work this process, there was 23 that have been sent back to an IEC for a re-review. There have even been a couple that even after they've been sent back to IEC, we've had them come back with the same recommendation, and I have had to send them back for an additional review. The concern that I'm running into right now is that potentially these people, as part of the intervention program, may be caught in a loop for a while this kind of works out. So there have been a couple that have come through, have been sent back for re-review, have come back through, back for re-review. And so at that point, we are meeting with our team to have discussions about this, to see what our next steps forward would be, because we are trying to take into consideration that the IEC is trying to gather all the information possible. We are trying to take into consideration that the IEC may believe that a work requirement is necessary. And so this is really where we are bumping up against the regulation effort that the board has approved us to look at, and whether or not we start a regulatory process to really clearly define what is required and whether or not a RN must at minimum work as an RN. That was in there, as the public commenter said. We do not have a specific requirement in statute or regulations that states that an RN must work within their license or must work 20 hours a week for 6 months, which is a very common request that's put forward in probation. And in the absence of that specific requirement in law, the IEC has to do an individual case-by-case assessment of the public safety risk of the intervention participants' work history, work process, commitment to the program, showing all of the aspects and take that into consideration. And sometimes that becomes an area that the IEC is concerned that they may not be able to prove that they meet the requirements set forth in uniform standards that says demonstrated that he or she is able to practice safely. And so we're having some difficulty on some cases on what that demonstration should be. Does a RN have to work as an RN in the intervention program in order to successfully complete? I know that you guys cannot make a motion here to say, yes, this is a requirement, because it would have to go to full board, but, and we would have to look at incorporating that into law. But I think that is, by doing these reviews, I think that's the biggest area that I'm running into on these reviews. We have some that have had spinal fusions that are unable to work at the bedside. We've had some that have pulmonary hypertension who are unable to work at the bedside. We have some that have, excuse me, various issues with seeking employment where they applied for hundreds of jobs and have not been picked up for employment based on maybe a felony conviction that is outside, because of course, remembering that on our board's website, their participation in this program is confidential. So it is not our board that is impeding in being able to obtain jobs, but a person may have entered into the intervention program and additionally had a felony. And so when they are faced with having a criminal conviction outside of the BRN and having some guidelines that we have a worksite monitor in place where we talk with the employer and they have to follow certain guidelines to do that, they're not able to get employment. And so if they're in this program for 3+ years, if they are sober for 3+ years, but they have never utilized their RN license to work, that becomes a kind of area that is difficult for the IECs to determine whether or not you can state that they demonstrate he or she is able to practice safely. So we may look at defining how that can be done in the future. Some say, I've been meeting with other executive officers of other boards, kind of talking about this. Some have requirements that you don't work at all through the program, that their entire alternative to discipline program, however long that may be, they require them to be off work and not working as an RN. Others, like ours, want them to work as an RN. Some have a requirement written in their law that they must work as an RN for a minimum amount of time, and that is a condition of completion. We are fairly silent on that. And so there is not direct evidence out there that says you must. There is not direct evidence that not doing it is successful either. So it is a difficult thing to determine. The other thing that really comes into conversation when I've been going through these reviews that come up is understanding that the practice of nursing is vast. If I were to be in the intervention program today, I am an RN. I have been out of bedside for 6 years, 7 years. I have not been at the bedside. And so if a requirement came through that I would have to work as an RN in direct patient care with access, that would be a risk inherently at that point, because I would need retrained, put back onto a floor, and I may not be able to get a job because they might see my history as the executive officer of the board of registered nursing and not want to hire me. So there are several considerations that I think open us up to more conversation on maybe future regulation and really direction from the board on what to consider. With that, we've also heard some outcry from the public talking about, I don't want to be a bartender. And they're using that as an example, where they're saying, if I was an alcoholic, I would not be part of my sobriety. It would not be supported for me to go to a bar. It would also not be supported for me to be a bartender if I was an alcoholic. And so some of the participants that are reaching out in public comment, as well as in email and stuff, are stating, as part of my sobriety, I don't want to go back and work into direct patient care. I don't want to go back into work and pass narcotics, because I know in my sobriety, I have many other options as an RN where I can get a job where I don't have to do this. And so those are still some of the ongoing questions that I think would warrant further discussion as we move through this process and look at possibly identifying some increased regulation or updating our regulations around that, or some direction on training and stuff that we might be able to provide to our IEC that our board would be comfortable with, because they are having a difficult time, especially on having to re-review 23 of the 30 cases that were put forth to me, on what demonstrating that he or she is able to practice safely means, and whether that is just showing that they're managing their addiction, which is what brought them into this, safely and well, which then would mean that they could practice safely, or whether they have to be put back in the situation that got them here in the first place to demonstrate that they could practice safely. And so just throwing that out there for more discussion, more thought, something to kind of keep on your radar as we move through this. But other than that, we did have our last IECs with Maximus in December, and ended the year very strong. We do have many completions, as you can see, where they were granted successful completion, which were 50 of the 68. That's a good percentage. And we've already held, I believe, 2 IECs since the beginning of the year with Premier. One, and we have one coming this week, sorry, tomorrow. So we have one last week and one this week with Premier. So we are continuing to move along. And I just wanted to say thank you to Shannon and Yvonne and Jaspreet as they are holding down the fort, really, truly making this possible as Premier comes on. They are managing this kind of independently while we're training and bringing Premier up to speed. And they've been able to do this seamlessly and have those IECs continue to be held without the prior process. And so thank you guys, and I commend you guys on the work that you guys are doing for that.
Thanks so much, Lori. Really, this report out that you've just presented really illustrates the need for just one more set of eyes going over. I think from your level, you're really able to see some of the, kind of sticky problems, the recurring issues. So, yeah, practicing safely, it probably does need a definition. And maybe it is just addressing addiction issues. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And, I really do want to thank Yvonne and Shannon and Jaspreet, because I know bringing in a new vendor has probably doubled their workload, and to hear that it's been done seamlessly is really great news. So thank the staff on behalf of this committee. Really appreciate it. So I don't have questions on your report, but I'm wondering if other committee members do. Yeah, go ahead, Committee Member Cormack.
Thank you, Chair Wynn. I just want to take a moment to reflect on how far we've come collectively in the, I guess this is 14 months now from when I first heard, complaints and concerns from the public. And I know 14 months can feel like a long time, but the level of information we have here, the level of understanding that we in the public now have of how this program works. Again, I'm going to harp on how great it is to have tables, but this is consistent work and, demonstrates from a transparent standpoint that here's how many people are joining, here's how many people are completing, here's how many people were seen by an IEC, 29%, 33%, 15%, 45% in October of the participants were seen by an IEC, 32, 28, like you add that up and, 182% of participants were seen in the past 6 months. So I know there are always exceptions and maybe someone didn't get in, but in general, somewhere between, people got 1 or 1.5 or 2, you can't get 1, people got 1 or 2 times, right, that they were able to get in front of their IEC. Explaining the difference between a program sobriety date and a personal sobriety date, that these things really, really matter, these details. And, I know Chair Wynn talked about like unpeeling the onion last year and felt like every time there was, another effort at it. But this level of information, numerical information, is extremely reassuring to me as a board member that we have heard people's concerns, participants, and that we are, continuing to manage for public safety, which is our purpose, and we are, we're really showing, there's only 12 people, looks like, in the program who have a program sobriety date greater than 3 years. We heard, I think, far more than 12 comments, 6 months ago about people saying, I've done what you needed me to do. So it has taken an awfully long time to get here. And I think the public, in general should be, I am, as a member of the public, I'm reassured by this level of detail and by, the wonderful way in which the staff of the board has really taken this to heart and taken it personally And I could hear that today already, you know, right? There's 1 or 2 or 3 people who need help today, and they're going to get it because they've been heard. So this has been one of the more difficult things I've had to do as a board member is listen to how hard it's been for some participants. And you know, we didn't have as much range of motion in order to do things, and we have relied on staff to do that. And I think this page 22 that shows what's happened month after month after month is evidence of what the staff has done. So I just really wanted to acknowledge what has happened collectively that started with participants and has resulted in this. So just wanted to share my thoughts on our journey together.
Thank you, Committee Member Cormack. I appreciate that. How about Mr. Lawler? Any questions or comments?
No questions. I will second what Committee Member Cormack has said. I agree with her completely. I still have a wait and see approach about how our new vendor is going to continue working seamlessly with the participants. And I do look forward to another conversation that we can have about establishing criteria for what practicing safely actually means. So I will look forward to that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Okay.
Quick question for me, David. Are you wanting that to be agendaized maybe for February or May board meeting?
I would love if
a
that could be agendized.
conversation- Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, I
We
would
will-
love that.
We
The
will
ultimate-
agendize a discussion on that. Yes, Reza?
Just going to say the ultimate kind of, how that would look is if we had criteria about more specifically what Uniform Standard 12 meant, it would mean regulations. So this could be, the start of that process if you're looking to go, formal with it in that way.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Board Moderator, would you please take us out for public comment? This is information only.
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Gina would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Sorry. Hi. I don't know. You can stop me if this isn't appropriate this time. I surrendered last August with 4 years and 3 months sobriety when there was a lot of confusion and everything. So initially I received a retired status, and then and it showed up on the BRN website. And then when the November or I guess the October bleedings, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, came up, it said it was changed from retired to surrendered, but it didn't have my story. And then like 2 months later, my story popped up, and it's been really difficult. I mean, I did complete everything during the program. As far as like what the initial thing, I know it's been changed. I was supposed, as far as the old program, I should have completed in June. I have applied to many jobs, even like minimum wage jobs, and somehow like Disneyland found, because they hire nurses, I think they saw the story. I just, I mean, I just wish there was a way that there could, be a change in that. I know everyone has to have their story on if they don't complete, but I did complete what at that time was required. And I guess, I know I'm just hoping for something that probably won't happen, but I just wanted you to hear me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Nguyen, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in our location in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. And thank you very much, Board Moderator. So that item is done. Again, it was information only. So now we will move to item 6.2, which is discussion and possible action regarding the reestablishment of up to approximately 5 intervention evaluation committees to meet program needs. And I think Lori will be presenting on this.
I will.
Actually, are you okay?
No, I'm going to let you do it, but I just
Okay.
want to take one moment really quick. That public commenter, I want to make sure that people understand that we're not just ignoring her, that we do not have the ability to discuss confidential stuff in a public manner here. And I do know that she is in communication with our board's assistant executive officer. So we will continue to work with her under what is allowable with law. And so I do just want everybody on here to know and the public know that we're not ignoring and not going to address that, but we are in contact and have been working with this person.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay. Again, Shannon Johnson, I'm the board's enforcement division chief, and I'll be going over agenda item 6.2. This is the discussion and possible action regarding reestablishment of IECs. And I know some years ago, well, probably about 6 years ago, we requested to shutter, which we had called back then I believe it was 3 of our IECs. Recently, a year or so ago, we requested to shutter 2 more, so a total of 5. We had 14 IECs to begin with. After sitting in these IEC meetings and reviewing these and the attention that these cases need and the frequency on which they need to be seen, we have really kind of have a much better understanding. Currently, we have 9 IECs. We're down to 165 participants. That's still over possibly what each IEC should be seeing on so let me back up a little bit. Each of our IECs come together each quarter. So every IEC meets 4 times a year. We think it is necessary for these participants to be able to be seen on a quarterly basis by their IECs, to get answers to some of their questions or be heard if they're feeling like they're not being heard, or why haven't I seen my IEC in so long? Because as you remember, we had participants that hadn't been seen in a year, over a year. So what we're asking for today is to possibly have the approval to open up some of those IECs that we have recently closed. In hindsight, we would like to maybe have those back so we can then redistribute participants into more IECs, allowing for them to be seen 1 time per quarter. Not only that, but having a lower amount of participants being seen in a day will allow the IEC to be able to have more of a discussion, a robust discussion on each case. In these last months, having 2-day meetings, we wouldn't need those anymore, which it's very hard and difficult for our professional individuals who are IEC members to be able to take, 1 day off, let alone 2. So it would be eliminating those second day of meetings, but really allowing time for the participant and to be able to be seen more frequently. So we're asking for approval for up to 5. That's our desired goal. We may not open all 5 at first, but we want that option and the flexibility that if we do need it, we open up 2 and we need an additional 1, or we open up 3 and we need an additional 1 or 2, that we do have that option at that time.
I really want to thank you for bringing this forward. I mean, Committee member Cormack was right. It's been a miserable 14 months, and I'm sure for some of the participants, it's been miserable for even longer than that. But, you know, out of that pain, we have come up with some pretty great solutions to some of the problems, and this is one of them. You and I talked about, you know, we used to do it regionally, and then people would have to go in person, but we've all learned how to do things remotely, and you know, it's probably less important to be geographically based and you know, really allow people to just get their needs met. So I'm really in favor of this, but would love to hear what other committee members think about it. So board member Cormack or Lawler, either of you have a feeling about this?
I do. I think it's necessary and I'm for it 100%. Let's go.
Great, thank you.
This is Board Member Cormack. I'm also very supportive. My only concern will be finding sufficient people to fill the slots. I mean, up until now, I think we've only seen as a board member the number of applications for the number of slots. So
We actually have a backlog of applicants waiting to possibly be seen. And with our next agenda item, which is the charter for the subcommittee, I'm hoping that we can move some of these on. If this gets approved, then we can move some of those applicants onto the subcommittee to start looking at.
Thank you. And I like the fact that you're gonna, you know, start with 2 and then see what we need and then go to 3 and see what we need. So I think that's the right approach. So I'm going to make a motion to accept the request to reestablish up to 5 intervention evaluation committees to meet the program needs and recommend approval of such action to the board. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, committee member Lawler is the second. So thank you very much. And board moderator, would you please take us out to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Nguyen, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments for the in-person Sacramento location. Would you like me to close this window? You're on mute.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. I keep muting, sorry. I'd like to go ahead and take a vote on this. So Nguyen is a yes. Cormack?
Cormack, yes.
Lawler?
Lawler, yes.
Great, that motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks, Shannon. So item 6.3, discussion and possible action, and this is regarding the intervention program subcommittee charter.
Yes. So again, I'll be the one presenting.
Thank you very much, Shannon.
So what this is Yvonne, I will not even take credit for this, has written up the charter for the intervention program subcommittee, laying out the responsibilities of the subcommittee and the processes in which it would work. I don't think you probably want me to read through this entire thing, but if you have any questions.
Yeah, I've had a chance to read it, and it looks right. I mean, I'm not sure that it's perfect, but I think it's a good starting place. and we can tweak it as we move forward. I'm wondering if either of the committee members have a comment on this. Yeah, go ahead, Committee Member Cormack.
I guess the only thing is it looks like I'm on page 26, about 2/3 of the way down. It says the subcommittee will review the applications and interview applicants if appropriate. I thought we wanted applicants to be interviewed. So I'm wondering if that language means that if there's an application where the subcommittee doesn't think it should move forward and then they wouldn't interview them. I'm just trying to understand the circumstance under which the subcommittee would not interview an applicant that is going to be forwarded.
That's a good question. The way I read it is the way you kind of questioned, like if they seem qualified, we go ahead and interview them. But you're right, that could be tightened up.
Yeah.
We could say if if qualified.
Yeah, I it's late in the day to wordsmith, but anyway, so I mean, perhaps I would just like to understand from staff why it's phrased this way as opposed to will. And again, I'm guessing it's because, anyone could apply and we don't want to interview everybody.
It is absolutely because of that. And so if you have some language that you would like to suggest on
page number, because
it's page 26. Page 26, and it's under subcommittee purpose charter. And it is the paragraph that says the application package will be reviewed by board staff. And if minimum qualifications are met, and if there is an IEC vacancy, the package will be presented to the subcommittee. The subcommittee will review the applications and has the S in parens and interview applicants if appropriate. And so we can work on this before it's presented to the board to clarify that if it is determined by the subcommittee once they've reviewed and said that they've met minimum qualifications that they don't want to go forward with an interview, then we'll make that very clear in there. But that anybody that moves forward for appointment will receive an interview. And so we'll make sure that that language is cleared up and in the language that goes forward into the board.
Is it just that word you want changed from if appropriate, maybe to if eligible? Or
it's not up to me. It's up, yeah.
We'll work on that with legal and we'll wordsmith it to get the intent there and put it in front of the board for a vote.
Yeah, it's just
we also need to check. I'm sorry. We also need to check the November board meeting minutes because I believe that was the word and the exact wording that President Trujillo used when she made the motion.
Was if appropriate?
Yes. We'll review it.
Could be, but we could also suggest changes to it and have a new board motion come forward.
Absolutely.
At the next meeting.
Yes. And we can bring it forward to the board again.
Yep. So.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, that's my only area that I just like tightened up before we vote on it in February.
Great catch. Great catch. How about Committee Member Lawler? Does this look pretty good to you?
It does. I feel like it's a first or a second read, and I look forward to, I don't know if there are going to be any other changes made to it before we vote, but I'd like to wait until the board meeting to do that.
Why don't we make a motion to that's what we're going to do. We're going to recommend approval to the board. But we will give this, okay, so I'm going to make a motion to accept the intervention program subcommittee charter and recommend approval to the board, but allow staff to, make some clarifying comments in the interim between now and the board meeting.
Can I direct you to the or where it says accept, the second one where it says accept the intervention program subcommittee charter with the discussed revisions?
Oh, yes.
Approval. So that would be that one there. And then if you want to just read that full statement there, that would be where this discussion essentially would fall.
Great. So I would like to make a motion to accept the intervention program subcommittee charter with discussed revisions, which are the revision on that as appropriate, and recommend approval to the board and allow the BRN staff to make non-substantive changes to correct name and spellings and or typos that may be discovered in this document. Do I have a second?
Cormac second.
Second by Ms. Cormack. Thank you very much. So at this point, why don't we take it out to public comment? Board moderator, would you please open up public comment for us?
We'll be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in the request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comment. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Wynn, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in person in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. And thank you very much, board moderators. So let's go ahead and take a vote on this. Wynn, yes. Cormack,
Cormack, yes.
Lawler.
Lawler, yes.
Okay, that motion carries. And that is the end of item 6.3, and that is also the end of our agenda. So, Lori, unless there's anything that you would like to say before, we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, staff, for your hard work on today's agenda. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you in February, Sacramento.
Bye.
Thank you,
We're
everyone.
adjourned.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.